everybody, it's Jewelyn. Welcome back to my channel. Welcome to my home here in Santa Monica, California. It is Monday afternoon. I can't believe June is officially here. Taught my morning classes. I'm really excited because in 8 days my grandma will be here. I can't wait for her to be here in my space. So I thought, you know what? It's a beautiful sunny day. Before I go ahead and take Evie to the beach for her afternoon walk, I thought it'd be fun to do another collective video. I like these really casual videos where I can just sit down and plant talk and share with you my collection and where it's at. This is a very fun series for me, and I never imagined sharing my ferns anytime soon. I was really thinking I was going to do Tradescantia today. The Tradescantia collective video will come in the future, but in today's video I wanted to talk ferns. There's one particular fern in my collection that I'm very proud of, and I'm going to save that in the end. This fern was also featured on my Planting with Jewelyn Plant Awards for 2018-19, so stay tuned to the end of the video. For the most part, all of my ferns are doing pretty good except my most newest fern, which I'll probably save for mid part of the video. I'm gonna talk about my first fern, which I've acquired now in my collection for I want to say about 3 years, and it is my asparagus fern. So here's my beautiful asparagus fern, and this is a really cool fern that I picked up in Las Vegas 3 years ago for I want to say, you guys, maybe under $3. So very inexpensive plant. And by the way, this actually grows in the front part of the house on the opposite side of where the jade tree was, and it's growing wild there. One day I'll maybe share it with you guys, or maybe at the end of this video. So this particular fern lives on the top part of my white shelf in my kitchen area, and it's kind of been living there full time. Again, when I do travel, I try to bring some of at least my bigger plants outside in my patio so they can get natural sunlight while I'm away, while I'm traveling. But for the most part, this fern lives in my home full time. I just gave it a water. So this planter I got from Las Vegas, I want to say TJ Maxx, probably Home Goods, 3 years ago, and it's been living in this its entire life. I love the zen vibe of this plant. This also trails. As far as for the biggest asparagus fern I've ever seen, it was definitely in Egypt at that one come with me that I did in Giza at that restaurant. They had a very big, I want to say wild, because it was really huge and I was really in awe. I don't know how well this propagates, and in fact I've never propagated any of my ferns, so that would be pretty interesting to do. So out of all of the ferns, I want to say the asparagus fern is probably one of the most easiest drama-free ferns. If you're going to dabble into ferns, I probably would suggest this one. One, it's inexpensive, and two, it is low maintenance. I love the zen-like vibe. Like, how fun is this plant? And it trails up, so that would be something cool to see one day. This planter will be probably its permanent home. I don't see myself ever switching it up. I like the vibe of the planter and the plant, so it's going to probably stay together for its entire life. So if you are looking for a fern that's inexpensive and drama-free, the asparagus fern I highly recommend. For under $3, which is what I purchased mine for, and I've had it now for 3 years. It is kind of on a slow growing side, but again, not finicky. I can leave the house for a couple of days of traveling, and this is not going to be, you'll see in a second, my more finicky ferns, if I leave for a couple of days, they will wilt, but not this one. So love this one a lot. So here is my next fern. This is my asparagus foxtail fern, also purchased from Las Vegas. It is doing really well. I probably picked this one up for maybe $12 or so, and at one point there was red berries on here, which I think are its seeds if I'm not mistaken. And I've never propagated any of my ferns, like I said, so I'd be interested to see how I can go ahead and propagate them. This is living in my plant gang by the side of my bed, and this little owl is just a little gift from my grandma. She found this somewhere and we decided to stick it in the fern. It's living in a white planter, and this planter I've got a while ago from Home Goods. This asparagus foxtail fern has probably been with me for 2.5 years. Again, another low maintenance plant. This is a very common landscaping plant, so all around Southern California you will see the asparagus foxtail fern as fillers for landscaping, and it's a very easy plants. So again, asparagus fern, asparagus foxtail fern, I highly recommend because they're low maintenance and they're really fun. I love all of its fun trails. It is a nice filler for my plant gang by the side of my bed, and I don't move this plant outside when I go for a couple of days traveling. It just stays in the house and I never worry too much about it for getting a lot of sun while I'm away. So this is a fairly easy plant. It trails. If you're looking for a cascading fern, I highly recommend this one. There's a lot of personality, so if you're looking for one fern like in the corner, I highly recommend the asparagus foxtail fern. Again, this plant probably doubled in size since I purchased it in Las Vegas 2.5 years ago. Very low maintenance, and I highly recommend the asparagus foxtail fern if you're new to ferns. This is also another fern that's been one of my longest standing ferns in my collection. Another asparagus fern. As you can see, it is trailing really long. It's in a macrame setup, and as you can see, it's wild and crazy. This was originally living on the top part of my white shelf next to my other asparagus fern, but once it started cascading, I took it outside. It now lives in a macrame hanger on my wooden patio gate, and I love having that cascading effect on my wooden patio gate. I don't recommend this one if you are going to be touching it because there is a lot of thorns on here, so handling this plant, not very good. I get pricked all the time every time I touch this fern, so I try to not touch him. But if you're looking for a cascading type of fern, this is going to be your best bet. Also, this was very inexpensive. Originally, I picked it up, I want to say for maybe $3, if that, and it was very tiny. We're talking like probably this small, and then all of this has happened over the last 3 years. Got this from Las Vegas. This planter is a gift from my grandma. I love that zen vibe that it brings to the space. But again, if you're going to be touching this plant, I highly recommend not getting this one because of the thorns all on this plant. So I try to not touch it. This is a really fun update. As you can see, not finicky at all. If you don't water this plant for a week, it's probably forgiving. I've never had problems with this plant at all, and it kind of reminds me of a weed where it's never going to die. It's one of those indestructible plants. So I wanted to share with you one of my original ferns, which I think is doing really good in my collection because of all of its trails. Here is one of my first ferns I've ever gotten in my collection. It was actually a lot bigger when I first purchased this, and I want to say I got this in Las Vegas. This is a Boston fern. Probably picked it up originally for maybe under $7. This is a very finicky plant, so if you do travel a lot like me, I don't suggest it. I had this plant now in my collection for over a year, and when I traveled last year, it did not like me leaving it too long without being watered so much. This lives on my windowsill in my bathroom, so it does get misted at least twice a week and watered once a week in my bathroom, and is going to live in my bathroom for its entire rest of its life. I'm hoping that one day soon I can eventually get this thing to grow back double the size that it originally was, but at least I have what's left of the plant. And again, I don't recommend this plant if you do travel a lot or if you don't have patience for ferns or finicky plants, because this one is a very finicky drama type plant. But if you can see here, there's lots of new growth here, so that makes me happy. This is one of my original ferns in my collection. I have it in a plastic planter just because it lives on my bathroom windowsill, and I don't like having ceramic planters on that windowsill because of how high it is. I would hate to have a plant fall and crack. So out of all of my ferns, this is probably one of my original ferns that got me into collecting ferns, and another very interesting plant to have. When it comes to growing ferns, you have to have patience with them. As far as for where does this stand within all of my ferns, I want to say this is on the drama side, so I don't recommend it if you're new to plants, or maybe if you want a challenge and you have someplace that is humid. I highly recommend this plant. Other than that, I wouldn't suggest this plant. Say like if you live in Las Vegas, I would not have this plant in Las Vegas, but we'll see. I'll keep you guys posted, and hopefully one day it'll double its size back to its original size that I purchased it 2.5 years ago. All right, so here is my next fern. This is my silver sword fern. I am in love with this fern. If you remember, I picked this up in Come With Me, heading down to San Diego from one of those cities there, which I can't remember, with Evelyn, and I was in love with this fern. I might have picked it up for maybe $11, and this plant lives full-time on my Tiffany blue table. It is so stunning. It's living in a cobalt blue planter. I love the aesthetic of that. It's doing really good. Lots of new growth. If you see here is little curlicues here. How cute is that? Look at that. So a lot of new babies popping through, and I never get sick of looking at this fern. This is so cute. So if you look up here, there's tons of new growth here. Look at that, how it unfurls. Isn't that adorable? So lots of new growth throughout this whole plant. This lives on the corner end of this table right behind my Buddha head, and I love seeing this fern in my collection. Half of my ferns, you guys, are low maintenance. This is one of them. This gets misting every time I bring my hose through to water my plants in my patio. I never had drama with this plant, and as you can see, there's a lot of personality. It takes up the whole frame, and I just love the aesthetic of the planter and the plant. This plant reminds me of Hawaii because it does grow wild in Hawaii, and I am in love with this plant. Very fun, low maintenance plant. So if you're looking for ferns and you catch one like this, I say scoop it up. This would even be fun like in a living room or in a kitchen in the corner as a statement piece. So this lives here, and you can always see it in the background of my videos if I sit in this point of view. Love that a lot. One of the ferns that are living in my bathroom in my hanging section is my rabbit's foot fern, and this is living in the macrame setup above my shower. This fern has been with me, I want to say maybe almost a year. I'm not sure. I got this from the Pasadena Rose Bowl flea market, and for the most part it is doing good. I have it in a white planter so its feet can come out, and I am in love with this thing. This is probably one of my favorite ferns aesthetic wise. I love the rabbit's foot ferns all on the side of the planter. As far as being high maintenance, this one can get a little high maintenance, so I have this one in my bathroom specifically for that reason. I think if this fern lived outside, I would probably have to go and look at it every other day to make sure if it's okay. I want to say this is a very slow growing plant. There hasn't been much movement with this plant since I've gotten it, and it's been in my collection for a couple of months, or maybe it has grown and I just don't see it. But for me, looking at it, it kind of looks the same since I gotten it a couple months ago. Maybe half an inch of growth, if that, but slow grower. So if you get the rabbit's foot fern, I highly recommend having it someplace where there's a lot of humidity. If you have this fern or any of the ferns, I would love to know in the comments below, where do you have your ferns living in your collection? This one I would not probably have in my patio. I think its best life would probably be in my bathroom. And this rabbit's foot fern I probably got for maybe, I want to say $13 or so from Pasadena Rose Bowl flea market. So here is a drama fern. As you can see, it's kind of on the wilted side. I just gave it a water. This is my kangaroo paw fern, which lives in the same area as my rabbit's foot fern, living in the same kind of plastic nursery container. And this plant I've gotten now, I want to say for a couple of months. I got this from my Los Angeles flea market, probably for around the same price. I don't think I paid more than $15 for this fern. As you can see, if it doesn't get water in a couple of days, it will start wilting. But since I just gave it a water, it'll perk right up and it'll go back into its macrame hanging system. So if you are not home and you're a traveler like me, I suggest not getting this one unless you really want to baby a plant and you're home a lot and don't mind being stressed out every now and then this fern is for you. Catherine also has one, and hers is living in her dining room area in her hanging basket section, and hers is doing really great. So I should ask her how often she waters that fern. But for me, if this doesn't get water every 3 days or so, it will start looking wilted like this. But for the most part, it's doing good. It'll perk right up, I want to say by the end of the day or tomorrow morning. If you watch my come with me videos, you know I do get gravitated to the fern section. I'm kind of interested to see where my Jewelyn's collective for ferns is gonna be, like say in a year. This is probably one of my newest ferns, and I absolutely love ferns in a hanging basket. If I could have all of my ferns in hanging baskets like above me, that would be such a mood. Would love to have that one day. But for now, my kangaroo paw fern and my rabbit's foot fern is hanging up in macrame baskets above me when I shower. Love that a lot. Now let's talk about my drama fern, which is my newest fern, which I acquired in my collection, and I don't know what to do with him. So this fern, I want to say this is like a silver sword fern if I'm not mistaken. I'll go ahead and I'll put all of the names up if I can find it for all of the ferns. This is what's left of this fern, which I picked up from Las Vegas recently for I want to say $6 or $7. This lives in my bathroom full time. I don't recommend this fern because, as you can see, if it doesn't get water every 3 days or so, it will start wilting. So I did give it a prune to get all of its dead leaves off. I would not pick up this plant. If this plant dies on me, I will not purchase it again. But as you can see from all of my ferns, this one is doing the worst. And when I did pick up this fern in Las Vegas, I don't think it was doing that great if I can remember, but I'm going to try my best. It's living in a white ceramic planter that I got from Ontario, California. And if I could, I would probably maybe have this next to my humidifier to kind of help it out. But this is a very finicky fern that I don't recommend. But I think maybe the plant enthusiast in me that collects ferns wanted to have it because it was under $10 and I didn't have it. So that's probably the reason why I picked it up. But moving forward, let's say like the maidenhair fern, which I picked up 3 times now, which always dies on me, I will not be picking up that fern anymore, including that one. So first and last time for that one. So here's another fun update on my fishtail bird's nest fern. Actually, when I think about it, when I got my little bird's nest fern, which is now my largest fern in my collection, it was this size when I purchased it. So that's very fun to think about. This fern I got from a nursery in Pasadena that I did a come with me with Catherine, I want to say over a year ago. And I love the aesthetic of the white planter, which I got probably from Home Goods Las Vegas, with this fern. It's absolutely stunning. I love the bird's nest fern so much, so when I seen the fishtail version of it, I was like, no way. I didn't know this was a thing. I didn't know that the bird's nest fern came with fishtails at the end. So naturally, I had to pick one up. I think I probably had one more and I don't know what happened to it, but this one was kind of on the expensive side. I probably paid maybe $13 or so for a fern that was half of this size. So it's doubled in size since I got it. But I love this. So if you ever come across the bird's nest fern with a fishtail, I highly recommend it. I rarely see it. So when I seen this for the first time, I had to pick it up. There's no way I was gonna pass up on it. This lives in and out of my home. Sometimes it lives by my water feature and sometimes I have it in my bathroom. So it does move in and out, but very easy fern to grow. And I just love the aesthetic of it. Like, how cute is that? So I am loving the progress of it. I'm kind of interested to see how long it's going to take to reach up to the size of my original bird's nest fern, but it was actually this size when I picked it up. So that's kind of fun to think about. So I'll give you guys updates in the future when I start seeing more movement in this plant. Alright, you guys, so we're switching point of view here for my Staghorn fern. I absolutely love the setup of this one. It is hanging and living on my patio gate. So it's one of the first babies I do see when I walk into my space. This basket was originally a metal color, so it's dark, and I did a DIY, sprayed it white to match my aesthetic. And I am in love with the choice that I made for the Staghorn fern. I have it in this cocoa liner half basket, and I have it in a cocoa coir mixture, and so far so good. It has grown at least maybe a quarter of the size that originally came, so it did grow a little on me, and I think it's absolutely adorable. I'm kind of interested to see how long it's going to take for it to spew out of the planter. But for now, I think it's absolutely a perfect setup for this Staghorn fern. A trending look for the Staghorn fern is on a board, but for my space and my aesthetic, I thought it was perfect to do it this way. And I can easily go ahead and transplant it out when it gets bigger. Along to my last two ferns, which is my biggest ferns in my collection, and actually the ones that I'm most proud of having, and I love being able to show them off right now. So let's go ahead and grab my first one. This is my beautiful holly fern. I'm so in love with this one. There was a come with me that I did with Catherine about 30 miles south of me. I can't remember the city name right now off the top of my head because I do so many come with me's, but this fern, I want to say I picked up for $11. Haven't had this fern for very long in my collection, but it is doing well, you guys. Take a look at it. I have this in my plant gang on the side of my bed, and like, how stunning is this? Jungle vibes, right? Like, love it a lot. And now after purchasing the holly fern, when I did do come with me's after that and I seen the holly fern for the same price, I seen the holly fern half the size of this. So I got an amazing deal for about $11. I got this fern, and I want to say it grew a little on me, but for the most part I bought this fern a fairly large size. It is living in a planter that I got from Home Goods 3 years ago, and I love having this fern in my collection. It is on the hardy side, so I wouldn't say it's a drama fern, but I mean, it's show-stopping. As soon as I walk into my home, this is one of the plants that just kind of gravitates my eyes towards to this plant because of how like dynamic the leaf is. Like, take a look at that. It is so stunning. This is such a serious fern, you guys. So if you are in the market for a fern that has a wow factor, the holly fern does it for me. Take a look at that. Like, seriously, you guys, if you want a fern and you only want one, I would highly recommend the holly fern. I'll turn around the fern so you can see what the back side of the fern looks like. Like, look at how beautiful this plant. So it's definitely on the hardy side, so probably a little bit more forgiving if you forget to water this. In fact, the nursery that I picked it up at, I don't think it even got watered for a very long time, and a lot of the plants there were like super dry. I don't think they even got a water in the last week. So with that being said, I want to say this fern will tolerate not being watered if you forget or travel for a week. But I wouldn't go longer than a week not watering this fern, because with all ferns, they like being watered and they love humidity and they love being misted. All of my ferns do get misted twice a week and watered once a week. So that is my watering routine for my ferns. All right, you guys, so this is going to be my last fern for Jewelyn's collective, and as you can see, it takes up the whole frame and you can't even see me. So let's go ahead and scoot on over to make room for my beautiful luscious bird's nest fern. You guys, I am obsessed with this fern. This fern is one of my most prized plants in my collection, and I will go ahead and do a video of priceless plants in my collection. This is probably gonna make it in that cut because of how prolific this plant is. As you can see, it's so big, and whenever I look at this fern, it just makes me feel like I'm doing something right. This lives in my patio full time. This plant lives right next to my red Congo philodendron. And with that being said, I will do my top 10 largest plants in my collection so you can see my larger plants. This is probably going to be one of them. I love this plant so much. This was in one of my original Meet My Plants episodes that I did a while back, and I know this plant is definitely one of those wow plants when you walk into my patio. I mean, take a look at it, you guys. Isn't it stunning? I'll give it a spin so you can see what it looks like. Here, So I've had this plant now, I want to say about almost 3 years. I can't remember where I picked up this plant, maybe in Las Vegas, I'm not sure. I don't know how much I spent for this plant. I want to say under $20, but it was really small. When I think about it, my fishtail bird's nest fern, that size where it's currently at right now, was the size that this was when I picked it up. And look at it today, you guys. How beautiful is this fern? Sound off down below, guys, if you have any of the ferns in my collection. I would love to know how big are your ferns, what is your largest fern, and where do you have them styled in your home. This is the largest fern out of all the ferns that I have in my collection, and I am definitely attached to this fern. This is such a show-stopping fern, and it's always living in my patio. It does so well. My patio is shaded, and for the most part, this has never been a drama plant. I've never seen it wilt on me, and even if I'm gone for a week or not, it still does well in my collection. So I want to say, if you're looking for a bird's nest fern and you're nervous if it's going to be drama, in my opinion, it is not. Maybe some of you guys might have opposite experiences from me. I do live in Southern California, which is also something to think about, because where I live, it is summer all year long. For the most part, all of my plants do stay outside all year long. They never get winterized and come into the house unless it's super raining. But this plant loves rain, you guys. So I hope you guys enjoyed my collective series featuring all of my ferns and currently where it's at. It gave you a glimpse of what are a little bit more hardier and drama-free, and ones that need a little bit more attention and TLC. I can say for the most part that all of my ferns has cost me under $20, believe it or not. So very inexpensive plants if you want to collect ferns. If you enjoyed this video and love my collective series, give this video a big thumbs up. And also, if you enjoyed seeing the update on my beautiful bird's nest fern, and also if you have any of the ferns, sound off down below. And if you want to see more collective videos, let me know in the comments down below what would you like me to go ahead and feature next. You can find more on my blog at ILOVEJEWELYN.blogspot.com. If you're new, welcome to the channel. Hit the bell and subscribe button to be notified on my daily uploads. I am going to head down to the beach and take Abby for her afternoon walk, which I'm super excited about. I think her ear is doing much better, so I want to get her out and active. And I love hearing my beautiful water feature behind me in the background. I'm never gonna get tired of that. So shout out to my water fountain for all those vibes. I love it a lot. Can't wait to see my grandma in a week, so stay tuned. She'll be back on the channel, and I would love to have her do the next Jewelyn's collective with me. That'd be really fun. And also, I can't wait to do more cleaning videos, and I'll have my grandma jump in on that one. So see you guys soon. Till next time, aloha from all of my ferns here in Southern California. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye guys.